Okay, so day 3, we're going to talk about speed and velocity. Speed is a measure of how fast an object is traveling. So we have two types of speed that we need to talk about. The first one is instantaneous speed. And instantaneous speed is the measure of how fast an object is traveling at a given instant. This is your speedometer, your radar guns, things like that. It just takes a glimpse, a snapshot of how fast something is traveling at that moment. What we normally calculate is average speed, and this is the speed that you have traveled over the duration of the trip. And this is your distance traveled divided by your time that it takes you for the trip. And here is the speed triangle that we'll be using. Speed is going to be equal to distance over time. Time is going to be equal to distance over speed. And distance is going to be equal to speed times time. That's how we use that triangle. For this one, we're going to say this example problem. We have a 150 mile trip, and it takes us 3 hours to make the trip. So we divide 150 by 3, and we find out that we traveled at 50 miles per hour. Remember that speed is going to be a derived unit. We're going to have to include the units for the distance and the time for the collective unit for speed. So that would be miles per hour, miles over hour, meters per second, kilometers per hour, and things like that. Velocity, on the other hand, is a vector measurement. Remember, speed is a scalar measurement, and speed only gives us the magnitude, which is basically how fast we travel, whereas velocity is going to give us the direction in which we traveled in addition to how fast we're traveling. Velocity, again, is based on displacement. It's not based on the full path. It's based on the most direct route from start to finish. Speed cannot be negative, whereas velocity can be negative depending on which direction you are traveling. Again, a negative velocity would not mean that you're not going as quickly. It would mean that you are moving in the opposite direction. Again, notice that in the vector measurement for the velocity, we have the line over the top of the V, which means that we have used displacement in order to calculate this value. Again, these are just a couple of graphics to help us look at velocity versus speed. Again, velocity is a vector quantity and signifies magnitude as well as direction, whereas speed is a scalar quantity and it only uses distance. It does not signify direction. If you look at this particular one, again, this is our right triangle. Again, we're going to use the distance of 400 kilometers in 10 hours and 300 kilometers in 10 hours to get our average speed, whereas our displacement will just say that we were going 500 kilometers in 20 hours. Again, this is a 3, 4, 5 triangle, again, using 300, 400, and 500. If you calculated the average speed, you would probably get a similar measurement. Again, our speeds are the same for both vehicles here. However, you notice that the one that is moving to the negative or the left has a velocity of negative 300 kilometers per hour, whereas the vehicle that's moving to the right or to the positive direction has a velocity of positive 300 kilometers per hour. So you have speed calculations to do for today, so make sure you get all of that turned in order to receive full credit.